It was great to have 4.5 years of work, darling. Just a roll. Just a roll.
A question for each of you. Which was the most difficult scene for you to film? For what reasons?
The very first scene I did in the laundry. I was shit scared. Why? Do you want to know why? Because everybody that I was about to work with had been at it for quite some time, and I was the new kid on the block, and I think expectations of me were fairly high. Expectations of myself are always high, and I was quite scared of letting the side down. And out of that fear of that first day, it came the stillness that Joan Ferguson was known for, which turned out to be a lot more menacing than flailing arms and head around, you know, and acting tough. But then I did get a bit cocky after a year or two and started to act tough. And I was pulled into gear by one of the producers who had directed the very first episode and helped create that stillness, which was much more menacing than playing tough.
Well, toughest scene for me, I think, was when I played Yamil, and we had the male prisoners in at that time. Remember that? And
They do, we do.
And I had to go into the room of one of them who was giving Yamil such a bad time and tore up her Quran, which was such a sacrilege. And my revenge was to go into his room and smash everything up and tear down the posters, which were quite pornographic for its day. And I was told we only have 2 stunt chairs, because he was meant to come into the room at the end of me smashing everything up, and I had to hit him over the head with the chair. We only had 2 stunt chairs, so therefore I didn't rehearse. So we just did it. Luckily I got him on the head at the right time. So that was a difficult one. Yeah, that's the only thing that I remember that was difficult, really. Next.
There was a scene where Delia was held up at gunpoint, and I absolutely hate guns. They make me nervous. I don't like being with you see policemen and they've got them hanging on. I just want to get away. And every time they do the scene, I think it was all the things that were going on. They'd show you that the gun had no bullets in it, and I think by the end of the day, when they finally sort of did the scene, I think I fell to the floor naturally, because I found it really, really overwhelming, because I hate guns with a passion. And that was probably the worst. And I didn't really have, Delia was such a happy-go-lucky person, she didn't really ever realise anyone was being nasty to her. It wasn't scary. And I wasn't clicky in the green room, so I was alright.
It was alright, except when they ruined Mel Jones's party. Remember that? And Lexi had set up the party for it, and then they started throwing cupcakes. Do you remember?
It's funny, fans will say things, and because it was so long ago, fans will say things, and I'll go, I do remember the cupcakes.
Do you remember that?
Across.
Yeah. You weren't very. She wasn't very happy then. After that happened.
And the thing I would get scared because the walls were quite flimsy, and I am notoriously clumsy, and I'd hate any scene if I had to walk down the corridor. I had one with Maggie once, and I was like, I know I'm just going to be in awe of working with her, and I am going to walk straight into the wall. And I think I did that day, bump the wall, because they were just, do you remember? They were like rough on them, rough. They touch you, but they quiver.
Oh, that surface on there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think my worst, or the hardest for me, was the very first episode. I was called in on a Friday, and I did my scene, and then I was called in for 4 Fridays after that, because that's how long it took to make the very first episode. They painted the walls of the prison a certain colour, and the costumes that all the girls were wearing meant that they virtually vanished. They just blended with the walls. And that made it very difficult doing it for about 5 weeks. I don't know how they got away with it, but they did.
Okay, next question.